Good evening. This is Doc Severson for the ReadySetCrypto OMNIA trade of the day for Wednesday, the 29th of September. The market is all green across the board here, but what I'm seeing instead is something a little bit more sinister. I am seeing a bear flag set up here, and bear flags typically will set up on a small consolidation pattern until they break down. Now, we've seen these before. We've seen these bear flags set up, like, for example, something like this setting up, and then it just sort of vaults out of the pattern. So it definitely helps to have a previous uptrend in play. We sort of have a previous uptrend here, but we're still trying to figure out if this is a weekly lower high, which is a more ominous pattern. And if this does break out through the bottom here, what this is going to do from a fib perspective is, let's draw this whole thing from the bottom to the top. It's going to break it down below that 61.8% retracement, which is about 38,300 or so, right? So we have to watch out for this level. The price can undercut 40,000 and come all the way down to about 38,200. That's okay. And I can still maintain that small daily downtrend. And that's going to mean a weekly pullback. It can go down to about that 38,200 level. And then if it goes below there, unfortunately, what we're going to be looking at is perhaps retesting the lows, filling in that triangle again. Now, I don't know if that is what's going to happen or not. I'm not here to bum you out or try to get you all bearish or anything like that. All I'm seeing is a bear flag. Bear flag similar to what we see here. This is just a small consolidation pattern, which has got a rising tilt to it. Same thing going on here. And typically what they do is they do break to the downside. Now, we could see this just take off from here. Again, we don't know. This is why we draw what we call the decision box. We box in the price, and in this case, it's going to be about 45,000 to the upside and just a little bit below 40,000 to the downside. If the price breaks out and above this decision box, that's all good. If it breaks down below there, then be prepared for at least a retest of about 38,000 or so. And that, of course, is for BTC versus the US dollar. Now, Ethereum, we're seeing kind of the same thing. The flag is a little bit more defined. The price is still above the 200, which puts it a little bit more bullish. If we draw the fibs on this guy, then let's see what we got here. Yep. The 2,600 level is really last line of defense for the bulls, and it coincides with the 200-day moving average, which is convenient. Now, again, like I said, like we're green across the board just about everywhere, but what I'm seeing, though, is not necessarily all that good from a technical perspective. We're seeing green, but we're seeing some tall upper wicks on that. So we were a lot more green this morning, but we're giving back a lot of it. So we'll see what happens. Again, I think a lot of this is going to be driven by the larger financial markets and how good they're running. Hex is still running great. Axie Infinity is still looking fine. Some of these assets are still doing really, really well, but they're traditional assets that we follow. A lot of these are starting to work into downtrends. And I got to tell you guys about that. I can't just sit there and puff bullish smoke at you every day and say, hey, we want the price to go up. It's my job right now to tell you when we have bearish setups. So right now, again, getting back to the very top, looking at the top 20 assets or so, we have similar patterns going on, and we're in a very important inflection point. I've said that several times lately. Very, very important inflection point, because on a larger time frame basis, this could turn into a lower high. Lower highs are one of the most devastating patterns that are out there in technical analysis. This is what happens when everybody buys the dip, buys the dip, buys the dip, and then they're scrambling to get out because more sellers are there than buyers. So all is not lost. Again, the point behind this is that if we do have this thing drop to the downside, then I do believe if we put this on a log chart, go out to the monthly scale, that this is just a long needed pullback to once again retest 20,000 from above. And this is going to give it a lot of energy and we should take off like a rocket if and when the price hits 20,000 again. So it's sort of like a bad news, good news. The bad news is we may be showing bearish patterns on the smaller time frames. Maybe showing bearish patterns on the smaller time frames. Again, I'm not bearish on this, but there may be bearish patterns that are out there that may be breaking to the downside. Make sure you're prepared. Unlike the rest of the herd that's out there, which is just buying every dip and buying everything that's working itself into a downtrend. You can choose to keep your powder dry and wait on that stronger pullback. That is it for today's report. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you.